There are towns on the edge of the world, forgotten places, where nature still reigns and the rules of reality grow thin. I used to think working night shift at a supermarket was boring, a job for college kids or burnouts. But the Mart in Cold Hollow, Alaska, isn't just any store. This is my story. Believe it or not. I'm telling it so anyone, knows what's going on out there. Because once you're inside the store, and the doors lock, the rules change. My name's Ben. I'm 28 years old. And up until last winter, I was just another guy trying to get back on his feet. After a rough breakup and a mess of debt, I took the first job I could find, night clerk at a 24-hour supermarket in a remote town called Cold Hollow, population 312 in interior Alaska. You won't find Cold Hollow on most maps. It's not marked. One road in. No airport. Half the town doesn't have Wi-Fi. The store I worked at was the only place open after 6 p.m. It was called Polar Star Mart. Sounded harmless enough. It wasn't. The hiring. The interview was weird. I met the manager, Mr. Griggs, in a windowless office. He didn't ask much, just if I was okay with working alone, if I could keep quiet, and if I was good at following rules. I said yes. He slid a piece of laminated paper across the desk toward me. A printed list of rules. Here's what it said. Polar Star Mart, Night Clerk Rules, revised January 2024. Failure to comply results in immediate termination and possible exposure. 1. Lock the main doors by 11:59 p.m. If anyone knocks after that, do not let them in, no matter how human they seem. 2. Check aisle 9 at exactly 12:17 a.m. Count the mannequins. There should always be 3. If there are 4, do not blink. Back away slowly and lock the freezer doors. 3. Do not acknowledge the man in the fishing gear. He wanders in between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. He doesn't speak. Don't make eye contact. 4. The meat slicer will turn on by itself at 2:12 a.m. Let it run. Do not unplug it. Do not touch the blade. 5. Restock only from the storage room marked green. The red room is not for you. Ever. 6. Take your 15-minute break at 3:03 a.m. Sit in the walk-in cooler with the light off. Don't leave until the timer hits 0. Ignore the voices. 7. At 4:44 a.m. the intercom will announce a special. There is no special. Don't go to the aisle it mentions. It's not there anymore. 8. The sun does not rise in Cold Hollow until 9 a.m. If you see sunlight before then, evacuate immediately. I chuckled after reading it. This is a joke, right? I asked. Griggs didn't laugh. Not a joke. If you want to survive, follow them to the letter. I needed the money. I figured it was hazing. Weird Alaskan humor. So I signed the paper. First night. 11:59 p.m. sharp, I locked the doors. The wind outside howled like it had a voice. Everything felt too quiet, like the air was holding its breath. 12:17 a.m. came. I walked to aisle 9. The mannequins were standing in a row like always. We used them to hang clearance flannels and jackets. There were 3. But as I turned to leave, I heard the softest creak of plastic shifting. I spun around. 4 mannequins. One had its head turned slightly toward me. I froze. Heart racing. I remembered the rule, do not blink. I held my breath. My eyes burned. Every instinct told me to run. Instead, I took 3 steps back. Then 4. I reached the freezer section and locked all the doors. The lights in aisle 9 flickered out behind me. The fisherman. Night 2. 1:08 a.m. I was stocking shelves when I heard the soft squeak of rubber boots. Turned my head and saw him. A tall man. Back bent, beard crusted with frost. Drenched in river water that dripped onto the tile. He wore an old Alaskan fishing jacket, face obscured under a wide hood. He walked past aisle 4 and stopped. Just stood there, still as a statue. I remembered Rule 3, do not acknowledge the man in the fishing gear. I looked down, pretended to price soup cans. From the corner of my eye, I saw him tilt his head like he was listening. Then he moved, slowly, steadily, toward the front of the store. He vanished past aisle 9. I didn't move for 10 full minutes. The slicer. By night 4 I'd memorized the rules. At 2:12 a.m. sharp, the meat slicer turned on by itself. No one near it. The blade spun violently, shrieking like it was cutting bone. I stood back. A single strip of flesh flopped onto the counter. It twitched. I did not touch it. After 60 seconds, the slicer powered down. I grabbed gloves and tossed the meat into the compactor without looking. When I blinked, I swear I saw a face in the slicer's reflection. Pale, eyeless, pressed against the steel like it wanted out. The storage room. By night 6, curiosity started to eat at me. 2 storage doors sat in the back. One marked with green tape. One with red. I always used the green one. But that night, the red door was slightly ajar. I told myself not to look. But I peeked. Pitch darkness inside. Shelves stretched impossibly far. Longer than the store itself. The smell of rot and something wet. Then I saw movement. A figure crawling, across the ceiling toward me, its limbs bent backward. I slammed the door shut. The hinges screamed like a dying animal. The break. 3:03 a.m. came. I went to the walk-in cooler, turned off the light, set a 15-minute timer and sat down. The cold was sharp. My breath fogged. Then, the whisper started. You don't belong here. Why are you pretending to be real? They see you now. I shut my eyes and covered my ears. I waited. When the timer hit 0, the whisper stopped. I opened my eyes. A message was scratched into the condensation on the cooler wall. They're waiting in aisle 13. There is no aisle 13. The intercom. 4:44 a.m. The intercom crackled to life with a static buzz. Then a cheerful voice rang out. Attention shoppers. Special deal in aisle 13. One-way escape, just $6.66. The lights flickered. The store went quiet. I remembered the rule, there is no special. Don't go to the aisle it mentions. But I had to see. Just once. I followed the flickering lights. Past aisle 12, a space that didn't exist before. A new row. Aisle 13. It was dark, humming with cold. Shelves filled with nothing. Just rows and rows of mirrors. Each mirror reflected a different version of me. Older, dead, bleeding, weeping, smiling with too many teeth. I turned to leave. But in the last mirror, my reflection didn't move. Just grinned. That night changed something in me. I tried quitting. Griggs laughed. You don't quit Polar Star, he said. You just last longer than the others. I started noticing things during the day. Static on my phone. Shadows in my mirror. Whispers in the freezer aisle when no one was near. Then last night the rules changed. I came in for my shift and found a new version of the list. It had 10 rules. The last 2 were written in a different language. One I somehow understood. Rule 10 was scratched in blood at the bottom. 10. Don't trust your reflection after 5 a.m. It isn't you anymore. And now, it's 4:59. That was part 1 of my story, working night shift at the Polar Star Supermart. In part 2, I find out where aisle 13 really leads. I find out what's behind the red door. And worst of all, I find out what I really am. Reminder, subscribe to Dark Horror Bytes. And remember, if the store lights flicker, it's already too late. Let's begin part -2. In part 1, I told you about my job working night shift at a remote Alaskan supermart. A store governed by terrifying rules. I followed them. I really did. But the rules changed. And now, I know why. This is what happens when the rules start following you. I should have run. I should have fled the moment I saw Rule 10 etched in blood. Don't trust your reflection after 5 a.m. It isn't you anymore. But it was already 5:01. And the person in the mirror was still smiling. I wasn't. The reflection. The reflection blinked out of sync. It raised its hand a second after I did. Its smile widened as I backed away from the mirror. Then it waved. I ran. The store was too quiet, like everything had stopped breathing. I made it to the break room, slammed the door shut, and turned the lights on. But the mirror over the sink, it was still smiling. I turned it face down, but its reflection stayed. I didn't sleep that day, not even during the noon blizzard. I just sat on my floor, staring at my hands, waiting for them to do something I didn't choose. The new rules. That night, the list was different again. Now it had 15 rules. Rules 11 to 15 were handwritten in something reddish-brown. The ink smelled like rust and rot. I read them anyway. 11. If your reflection waves, you have until sunrise. 12. Do not acknowledge customers who say they remember the other timeline. 13. If aisle 13 opens again, do not go alone. Bring a stranger. 14. Never open the safe in the manager's office. Never. 15. If you make it to 6 a.m. and nothing has happened, check your shadow. If it's missing, you lost. I had a bad feeling about that safe. So I went straight to the manager's office. The safe. Mr. Griggs wasn't there. The office smelled like mildew and burnt plastic. I found the safe behind a false panel in the wall, black steel with a keypad. The numbers were wet somehow. I didn't even know the code. But when I reached for it, the safe opened on its own. Inside, a VHS tape, unlabeled, covered in mold, and something else. A mirror shard, jagged, dull silver. It pulsed with warmth. I picked it up. The shard cut my finger. Blood ran along its edge, but the mirror didn't reflect me. It reflected aisle 13. Only it wasn't the store. It was a forest of glass. Aisle 13 again. 2:45 a.m. I stood at the mouth of aisle 13 again. The shelves had transformed into smooth, glistening walls. The floor looked like polished obsidian. The air buzzed. I brought someone this time. Hector, the new guy. Quiet kid. Maybe 19. I didn't tell him everything. Just that it was a malfunctioning display area. We stepped inside. The lights behind us flicked off. The shelves vanished. Suddenly we were outside, in the glass forest. Trees made of blackened mirrors stretched endlessly. Wind howled with distorted whispers. Then we saw them. Copies of ourselves. Dozens. Walking. Smiling. Bleeding. Don't follow them, I said. But Hector already had. And when I turned to stop him, it was me. The return. I don't remember how I got back. One moment I was in the forest, running from versions of myself with gaping smiles and gouged eyes. The next I was back in the store's dairy section, soaked in sweat, holding the mirror shard. And Hector was gone. I never saw him again. Griggs didn't ask. The cameras didn't work that night. Nothing happened officially. But I knew what I'd done. The sunrise. It came early the next morning. 6:07 a.m. The sun rose over the mountains, bright and golden. I should have been relieved. But my reflection still smiled. And my shadow wasn't moving. I looked down. It was waving. The town meeting. That day I finally talked to the locals. A group of them met in the church basement every week, called themselves the Hollow Watch. They knew the truth. Cold Hollow wasn't a town. It was a trap. A bubble. A failed experiment. Something ancient, buried under the permafrost, long before people ever settled here. The store? It's the mouth, one of them said. Feeding it is the only way to keep the rest of the world safe. Feeding it what? Curiosity, identity, people who break the rules. I was already on the list. The freezer. That night, I took my 3:03 a.m. break in the freezer like always. Except this time, the door didn't close behind me. I heard breathing. Not mine. The lights flickered, then turned red. I spun around and saw myself. Not a reflection. Not a dream. Another me. Covered in frost, teeth chattering, eyes wide and bleeding. It opened its mouth and screamed. The sound didn't come from its throat. It came from mine. I passed out. The other timeline. When I woke up, I wasn't in the store. I was in a hospital bed. Machines beeped. A woman in a white coat smiled at me. Welcome back, Ben. You've been in a coma since December. You crashed your car on the way to your first day at the Mart. I wanted to believe it. I almost did. Until I saw the reflection in the wall-mounted TV. It was smiling. And it didn't blink. The final rule. Back in the store, because I did go back somehow, Griggs gave me one last task. Open the red door, he said. You've earned it. I tried to say no. He handed me the keys anyway. The red door groaned open like it hadn't been touched in decades. Inside was a stairwell. Going down. Far, far down. Carved in the wall beside it. Rule 16. All things must return to the beginning. I descended. The depth. The deeper I went, the colder it got. The concrete crumbled into stone. The stone into glass. I walked through caverns of flickering lights, whispers echoing around me. The walls showed me things, my past, my fears, my future. A million versions of myself. Then I reached it. The room. Circular. Lined with mirrors. In the center, a checkout counter. Behind it stood myself, older, grinning, wearing the manager's badge. Took you long enough, he said. Ready for your shift? I work the night shift now. I don't leave. Griggs is gone. The store still stands. New clerks come. Most don't last long, but I greet them. I give them the rules. I tell them not to break them. They never listen. And the rules? They keep changing. Because I'm writing them now. That was the end of my story, or maybe the beginning. The next time you stop at a convenience store in the middle of nowhere, look for the rules. And whatever you do, don't look in the mirror after 5 a.m. Subscribe to Dark Horror Bytes. And remember, the store sees you.